Thank you for tuning in today. This is a re-record of a video called Cleaning Up Electronics. Pretty much there was no sound in the last video of this edition, so I'm going to record it again. Now, let's say you've got a keyboard that is become sticky. What can you do about it? Well, you can either put up with it or do something about it. Now, you can pull the keyboards are relatively easy to pull apart, depending on the type of keyboard it is. Keyboards come in different types. You got the plastic. You got the plastic over plastic, which is 2 layers of plastic and a cone type thing, which is like a rounded type cone, that little contact stick. That is one type of key. And it's very common today. Very, very common. Another type of key is the old-fashioned clicking keys with IBM Model M. That is still used today in high-end gaming keyboards. But however, it makes a clicky noise. It was common with the IBM PC in the 80s. That is a very, very robust type of keyboard that can last for many years as well. And there's still many of them still out there today as IBM keyboards, and they can also last for many years. And I've seen some up to 30 years old, and they're still running. So pretty much, that's a very very quality keyboard. But the downside is it makes a clicky noise when you do typing. Sounds like a typewriter going. So that's another type of keyboard there. Now, they are complicated to fix if they become sticky. What I would suggest to do is to disconnect the keyboard and run hot water over the keyboard a few times. That will remove the stickiness off the keyboard. But here's a but. You must dry it with a hair dryer first to prevent it from rusting. Those type of keyboards, those clicky keyboards. You actually have to dry it thoroughly with a hair dryer, and then once it's appeared to be dry, you let it air out for a few days to make it dry completely before using it. Now that does work. I've done it many times with keyboards in the past, and it came out pretty satisfactory. Now that's pretty much what you can do with electronics as well, with boards as well. You can actually run hot water over it to clean it, long as there's no battery in the circuit to cause a short. You make sure there's absolutely no power anywhere on the board. That's including CMOS batteries. You take that off. You take off the CMOS battery. Then you clean it up with run hot water over it to clean up all the dust. And then you run a hair dryer. Like this. Run one of these things. As close as possible. So the heat from the hairdryer would dry the board thoroughly, and you must make sure absolutely no water particles on the board prior to turn back on again. But what I would recommend, after you clean up with water, you can actually just air it out. Absolutely, air it out for a few days. Clean up, just let it sit there for a few days. Let it sit there for a few days. Drying, make sure it's absolutely dry before you air it out to prevent rust as well, because metal can rust. So you make sure it's absolutely dry before you air it out for a few days. And after a few days is up, you'll see the board dry and clean. Reinstall the board inside the machine, and enjoy the cleanness inside the machine. And absolutely clean when you do that. Absolutely clean. However, you do not do this method for power supplies. Not at all. It's not recommended to do some power supplies. Okay? Because that holds a lot of voltages. AC voltages is a lot more different than DC. So if you want a clean power supply, you must replace it every couple of years. The power supply must be replaced every few years to make sure that the power supply is safe. That's one caution I want to make today in this video, is never try this method on AC circuitry. It is very dangerous, and I do not recommend it. On stuff like expansion cards and motherboards, it's fine. It's okay. But don't do this on AC voltages. Whatever you do, because it's not. I do not recommend that at all. But if you take my steps in this video to use a hairdryer to really air it out, to do intermediate drying after cleaning up with water, then you air it out for a few days before using it again, and then prior from using it again, you run the hairdryer again to make sure it's absolutely dry. By that time, after a few days, in the seasons like summer, winter, autumn and spring, it does vary how many days you need to do. For summertime, it takes about 2 days. For autumn, add another 2 more days on top of that. Winter, another 2 days, and so on and so on. The colder the temperature, the more time it will take for it to dry out. So my suggestion is, well, you can take it at your own risk if you want to, but it actually does work when you do this. If you do this properly, it's a very, very effective way of cleaning your machine up, especially if it's from a smoker's environment. Especially if it's from a smoker's environment and it makes a horrible smell. Most of the time, if it's just dust, you could just run the air compressor, run an air compressor, and that will clean it pretty well without water. Without using water. But if it's from a smoker's environment and the computer's making a horrible nicotine smell, then that is when you use the water method to clean it with. Anyhow, do this at your own risk regardless if you decide to do this. But it's a very effective cleaning method. Very effective. So, give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment and subscribe and tell me your experiences with this method of cleaning up a PC. Literally. See you next time. Bye.